Have you ever had that peculiar moment, perhaps while walking down a familiar street or staring at your reflection in the mirror, when everything suddenly feels strange? As if the world you've always known, the pavement beneath your feet, the sound of your own voice, the faces you've seen 1,000 times, has somehow turned into a play you've wandered into by mistake. You know the lines, you know the roles, but something deep inside whispers, this isn't quite real. That moment, my dear friend, is not madness, it is awakening. To wake up is not to open your eyes in the morning, it is to open your awareness from the dream of separation, to suddenly notice that the world you've been moving through as a someone in a story has no clear beginning or end, only this eternal present moment shimmering like a mirage. When you finally wake up, you realize that life has been happening through you, not to you, and in that instant, everything feels unreal, because the real you thought you knew was never real to begin with. You see, we live as if we are inside a glass bubble, peering out at the world. We think of ourselves as spectators, as actors on a stage who must perform correctly to keep the story going. And we cling so tightly to this act, this identity, this personality, this self, that when the illusion begins to dissolve, we panic, because the mind cries out, if this isn't real, then who am I? But what if the question itself is the dream? What if you, as you think of yourself, are not the dreamer at all, but the dream? The wave believing it's separate from the ocean, the flame believing it's not made of fire, the mirror mistaking its reflections for something other than itself. When you wake up, you don't become some supernatural being. You don't float away from the world. You don't stop eating breakfast or brushing your teeth. What changes is your perception. You see that the solidity of things, the separateness of moments, the boundaries between you and the world are all shimmering illusions. They are not wrong, they are just not final. It's like suddenly noticing that the movie you've been absorbed in is made of light, the hero's struggles, the villain's cruelty, the tears and laughter, all of it made from the same flickering light. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. Life continues, but the seriousness fades, the weight lifts. You may still cry, you may still suffer, but you will know, deep down, that this too is part of the dance. That's why enlightenment can feel disorienting. When you wake up, the props of your old identity begin to crumble. You no longer know what to believe in. Things that once seemed meaningful, ambition, status, security, start to dissolve like mist in sunlight. It's as if the walls of your house have disappeared, and suddenly you realize there's no inside or outside, there's just everything. And this can be terrifying, because you discover that the ground beneath your feet, the psychological ground, was never solid. You were walking on clouds all along, but notice, the clouds are not less beautiful because they cannot hold you. They were never meant to. Most people spend their lives avoiding this feeling. They fill the silence with noise, the emptiness with possessions, the unknown with beliefs, anything to keep the illusion of solidity intact. Because the ego, that clever little actor, knows that if the play is revealed as play, it can no longer take its role so seriously. It would rather suffer endlessly than disappear gracefully. Yet the irony is, once you allow the unreality of it all to wash over you, you find a peace deeper than any certainty. You see that the unreality itself is not a void, it's freedom. Because if everything is a dream, it means everything is possible. The clouds are dancing, the waves are laughing, the whole universe is playing hide and seek with itself, pretending to be you, pretending to be me, pretending to forget its own face just for the joy of remembering again. So when nothing feels real, that's not a mistake. That's the truth beginning to show through the cracks. The veil of seriousness has torn just enough for you to glimpse what lies beneath, an infinite, luminous consciousness, dreaming this entire show into existence, and you are it. Now, the mind, ever eager to understand, will ask, if nothing is real, what's the point? Why do anything at all? But this question too comes from the dream, because it assumes there is something outside the dance that gives it meaning. The very idea of a point belongs to the world of linear thinking, of beginnings and endings, of causes and effects. But reality, when seen clearly, is not a straight line. It's a circle, a symphony without a destination. It plays not to arrive, but to be heard. Think of music. The point of music is not to reach the final note. If it were, the fastest orchestra would be the best. No, the beauty of music lies in its unfolding, its tension and release, its melody and silence. The song is meaningful because it is, not because it leads somewhere. Life is the same way. The very idea that something must be real to be meaningful is part of the illusion. When you finally wake up, you begin to see life as a kind of divine improvisation. Each moment appears out of nowhere, blooms and fades. You no longer need to cling to it or define it. You can laugh when laughter comes, cry when tears arise, and let both pass like weather. For you are not the storm, you are the sky. But here's the paradox. When everything feels unreal, it doesn't make life dull, it makes it radiant. The way a dream can be beautiful, precisely because you know it's a dream. You walk through life like a lucid dreamer, aware that the world is both illusion and truth at once. You can love deeply, fight passionately, and yet carry within you a quiet knowing that none of it binds you. You see, the sense of unreality is not the end of awakening, it's the doorway. The feeling that everything has become dreamlike is the ego's way of interpreting the infinite. It cannot comprehend boundlessness, so it calls it unreal. But to consciousness itself, this infinite play is the most real thing there is. You are not losing reality, you are seeing through its disguise. Have you ever watched the clouds shift and thought you saw a face? A moment later, it's gone. But it wasn't less real because it changed. It was a transient expression of the sky. So too with everything you love, everything you fear, everything you are. Always shifting, never fixed. And when you stop demanding permanence, life reveals its true face, fluid, spontaneous, eternal. So what happens when you wake up? You stop chasing shadows. You stop searching for meaning outside the moment. You realize that the game was never about winning or losing. It was about playing. That's why the sages laugh. That's why the enlightened ones seem childlike. They have remembered the joke that the universe was never serious to begin with. And yet, my friend, there is a subtle danger here, a trap as delicate as a spider's web. When one first glimpses the illusion of reality, it is tempting to withdraw, to say, well then, if all this is a dream, why bother? Why care about the world or the people in it? But that, too, is the ego speaking. Only now it wears the mask of detachment. It wants to preserve itself by pretending to have transcended the play. You see, there is a difference between detachment and indifference. To be indifferent is to turn away from life. To be detached is to dance freely within it. The awakened man or woman does not withdraw from the world. They fall more deeply in love with it, because they see the fragile, fleeting beauty of every moment, every face, every breath. When you know that the wave will vanish, you cherish its curl upon the shore. When you understand that every goodbye is part of the rhythm, you begin to say farewell with gratitude instead of grief. When you truly wake up, life doesn't feel less significant. It feels infinitely more precious. You touch the world not to possess it, but to experience it fully. You see yourself in others and others in yourself. You understand that when you harm another, you are wounding the same consciousness that animates you. The illusion of separation dissolves, and compassion becomes as natural as breathing. In fact, that's the great cosmic irony. When you realize that nothing is real in the way you once thought, you begin for the first time to truly care. Because now you see that everything, every tear, every laugh, every particle of dust floating through a sunbeam, is the universe expressing itself through infinite forms. You see that life is not happening to you, it is happening as you. But to live this truth is not always easy. When the dream begins to crumble, the ego trembles. It says, if there's no solid self, I'm lost. If the world is illusion, what do I hold on to? And the answer, of course, is nothing. That is the whole point. Let go. Let go of needing the world to be permanent, needing yourself to be defined. Let the wind blow through you. Let the tides take what they will. For the moment you stop grasping, you find that you never needed to hold anything at all. The unreality you feel, that strangeness, that weightless floating, is the space between who you thought you were and what you truly are. It is the caterpillar dissolving in its cocoon, unsure of what it's becoming. It's uncomfortable, yes, it can even be terrifying. But it's only through that dissolution that the butterfly can be born. You begin to see that your life is not a journey from here to there, but an ever-unfolding process of remembering. Remembering that you are not the actor but the play, not the drop but the ocean. You were never lost, only dreaming you were. And when you wake up, even the dream is seen as sacred. Imagine for a moment a child playing make-believe. She pretends to be a queen or a pirate or a magician. She knows it's all pretend, but that doesn't stop her from laughing, from crying, from pouring her heart into the story. The joy comes from playing, not from believing it's real. Life, too, is a magnificent game of make-believe. The universe pretending to be a person, you, me, all of us. And the moment you realize it's a game, you don't stop playing. You start playing beautifully. This, then, is the secret hidden in the feeling that nothing is real. It is not an invitation to despair, but to wonder. It's the universe whispering, "You've been taking me too seriously." When the walls of certainty crumble, you are free to paint again. When identity melts, you become the painter and the painting. You are no longer trapped inside the story. You are telling it. So when you wake up and the world feels unreal, don't rush to fix it. Don't try to patch the illusion back together. Sit quietly and watch. Notice the light dancing on the floor, the hum of the refrigerator, the rhythm of your own breath. All of it, a living miracle, a symphony without composer, a wave without beginning or end. You are witnessing yourself, and in that seeing, something beautiful happens. The unreality becomes real, because reality is not what is solid, it is what is alive. The world is not less real because it changes. It is more real because it dances. There comes a point in every awakening when you no longer need to ask, "Is this real?" Because you realize that the question doesn't make sense. The dream and the dreamer are not two. The ocean and the wave are not two. The dancer and the dance are not two. You can't peel the universe apart into what is true and what is false, because truth itself is the motion of change, the continuous act of being. When you see this clearly, you begin to live with a kind of effortless ease. You stop trying to be spiritual. You stop trying to hold on to insight. You simply live, naturally, freely, spontaneously. You laugh when life is funny, cry when it hurts, and rest when you're tired. You trust the unfolding because you are the unfolding. Even confusion, even doubt are seen as waves in the same ocean. They come, they go, and in their coming and going you are still. So when you find yourself standing in that strange, floating emptiness, where nothing feels real and the world seems to have lost its meaning, remember this: what you are experiencing is not the loss of reality, but the beginning of truth. You have taken off the mask, and for a moment your face feels naked in the wind. But beneath that vulnerability lies freedom. The real miracle of awakening is not escaping the dream. It's realizing that you were never separate from it. You can walk, eat, laugh, make love, argue, create, destroy, and still know that you are dreaming. And yet, it's the most exquisite dream imaginable. Because when you stop insisting that life be real, it reveals itself as something far greater. It becomes sacred. The trees bow in the wind, the rivers speak in shimmering tongues, the faces of strangers glow with the same mysterious light that pulses behind your own eyes. You realize that you have never been alone, that the same consciousness watching through your eyes is watching through every pair of eyes that ever were or will be. And in that knowing, the boundary between self and world dissolves into love. So perhaps that is what real means after all. Not permanence, but participation. To be real is to be fully present, to be here now, completely, even as everything flows and shifts. To wake up and say, yes, it's all a dream, but what a dream it is. Because once you've seen through the illusion, you don't escape life. You fall deeper into it. You taste the sweetness of fruit as if for the first time. You watch the sunset without needing it to mean anything. You listen to another person speak and realize they are you, speaking through another shape. You live, at last, without armor, open to joy and sorrow alike, knowing both are music from the same flute. So when you finally wake up and nothing feels real, don't be afraid. Smile gently. You've just discovered that the world you've been trying to hold still was never meant to stand still. It was meant to move, like breath, like laughter, like love. The dream was never the problem. The problem was believing it had to be something other than what it already is. Wake up then. Open your eyes and see. Everything you touch, everything you love, everything you fear, it's all you, playing hide and seek with yourself. Nothing was ever lost. Nothing was ever found. There is only this eternal now, this shimmering unreality that is more real than anything the mind could ever grasp. And once you know this, you will never again need to ask if you are awake. You already are.